sharpest creative mind that I know. Cash Bunny. Let's give her a hand. All right, Cash, first thing you're gonna do is introduce yourself.
Hi everybody, my name is Cash Bunny. I'm a video director and visual effects artist located in Los Angeles. This is some of the work I do, and a lot of it takes kind of a long time, and I'm doing speed runs because I know a lot of you are not really familiar with After Effects or 360 footage, so I want to do just kind of top line, run through it really, really fast because there's so many cool capabilities with 360 cameras. I personally am not the best shooter. I direct a lot of stuff, but I usually hire DPs because I am not a great shooter. But that is something that Insta360 is so amazing for because it makes it so easy. You can kind of just stick a camera anywhere, it's shooting in every direction, and then you can have a lot of fun in post. So that's kind of where I live, that's my favorite thing to do. And so, I'm going to start with a more simple edit, just to kind of get our bearings and like workflow, things like that. And then we're going to go into kind of a crazy, ridiculous edit.
Hey Cash, can I quickly just ask you, why does using a 360 camera make what you do easier?
Well, it gives me a lot of capabilities to do effects that I didn't even think of before. Okay, so I'm gonna start with this edit. Actually, you know what, let me show you what the final edit looks like so you can kind of understand what we're working towards here. Okay, so this was in Gibraltar. I was on a travel job shooting for a cruise company to show some destinations. And this is a perfect example of when 360 is the best way to shoot because you know you have monkeys in trees, you have monkeys all over the place, they run around, they go crazy, and you don't want to get too close to them, but having this kind of camera interaction where they can actually come right up to the lens and touch the camera is just so cool. So this was something that I absolutely needed 360 for, and this was such a fun one. So this is a pretty simple concept. You know, it's essentially a webcam, but done in a really cool way because we have the 360 capability. You're not limited to the framing that you have. You don't have to zoom in and then try to like, you know, tile the edges to try to get a smooth movement. You can really move around and have it feel very like handheld and like kinetic. So we're gonna go through this. I'm gonna rebuild it. The first thing I'm gonna say is, sorry, this is, I do have to narrate a good amount, so I'll hold this until I can let it go. Yeah, okay, perfect, thank you. Okay, so let's go into Insta Studio. So my first step when editing 360 footage is always to start in Insta360 Studio because you can export as a ProRes. This does the stitching for you, it does the stabilizing for you. So, you know, all that work that used to be really daunting is not daunting at all anymore. It's basically all done for you, so it's a super simple process. Now up here you have, you know, you can move around the frame, you can look anywhere you want, and if you go into this view, you can see like the full frame. So I can kind of look through my selects here. So let's say we go here, see these monkeys, and there's a moment that I want to show where the monkey grabs the camera. So I'm going to wait till the camera settles, pull this, so I'm just getting what I need. And then after the monkey touches the camera, I don't need any more. So I would come in and out like that, and then I would pretty much just export. I've done that in advance. And when you export here, so you can export a reframed video if you want to do your framing in Insta Studio. That would be maybe for like a more traditional, you know, you just want the clip. But when I'm editing with VFX, I want to go to the export 360 video, which is going to give me an equirectangular, which means I basically have, I turn this 360 globe into a flat image that I can edit like any normal footage. So this is where I come, and then I go to my encoding format, which is ProRes, and this is going to set me up for success in the editing process because After Effects does not like H.264. No Adobe products really love H.264, so ProRes is going to be the easiest path of least resistance of your file type. So then you would export. So like I said, I've already done that. And let's come over to the footage. So now we're in After Effects. Does anybody here use After Effects or any editing programs, or are you? Okay, awesome. Okay, so this is basically a program, Adobe program that's maximized for visual effects. And so here I have my monkey footage. So what I can do, okay, this is where it's gonna get complicated with the microphone. I'm gonna try my best here. So I'm gonna take my clips and I'm gonna drag them into this little icon, which is gonna make a composition. And so it's gonna sequence the layers for me with no overlap. Boom. Okay, so now I have my timeline here. And that's gonna put together all of my selects for this sequence. So what I could do from here This is such a wide screen. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I can take an effect called reframe. I can put it right on this clip, and now it's gonna look like it did nothing, but don't let it fool you. It's up here, it's a source image, so we just have to change that, and then boom. Now we have our reframe footage, and what I can do is I can look around here. Thank you. I can look around here, and I can, here, let me just do this, and I can go wherever in the frame I want, and you've got these nice little lines here to be able to reframe it. So like if I want to zoom in and out, I can do that here. I can also do it over here. I can rotate, and I can even change the distortion of the image. So if I want like a more stretched out, like getting kind of straight lines image, I could do that over here. So okay, that looks pretty good. So I'll keep it there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for where this monkey touches the camera. And then I'm going to set keyframes for the pan, touch, and rotate, which I can see here. And I'm going to try to follow that movement. So it's almost like he tips the camera over. So I'm going to try to kind of simulate that movement with keyframes. So I'm going to have the camera sort of roll back by pulling it. So now it looks like he's tipping the camera over, right? And I'm going to ease these keyframes here. So I'm going to ease these keyframes so that it kind of eases into that movement rather than just like suddenly tilting. And there's one thing that we're missing here because it kind of still doesn't look very convincing, and that would be some motion blur. So I can enable that here, and I can also enable it down here, and now we have blur on the image. And I'm also just going to change the comp size here so it's a bit easier to see. There we go. Okay. So now we have him tilting that camera, and we can go into the second clip. So what I'm going to do here is basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it seem like one clip is going into the next one fluidly. So it's like he tips the camera and then it tilts over to the next side. So I'm going to copy paste this reframe effect onto the next clip, and now it's going to show the wrong part of the clip. That's because the subject is in different parts of the frame for each piece of footage. So I'm just going to kind of correct that. I'll go a few frames in here, and I will make a new keyframe and tilt it to where we want to see. There we go, cute little baby monkey. And yeah, we'll do like right about there. And so what we're going to do is now we're going to reverse engineer. So we know where we want to land. Where does that mean we have to start to get a fluid motion? So he's pushing back. That means the frame is coming up from the bottom. So then here, I'll start here. And that should look like fluid motion. And again, we're going to add the motion blur here. And so let's see what that's looking like. Okay, so now we have a nice smooth transition. What we can do to make this feel even more real and organic is we can add a little bit of bounce, a little bit of reaction. So kind of like getting into physics here a little bit, which is great with 360 because it allows you to really do that and to play with the space a lot, and you also get that nice distortion. So we know where we want to land, right? Let's actually overshoot it a little bit. Then we'll come back down, and then we'll settle kind of in the middle. So let's try that. We'll tweak things a little bit. And let's do, so actually these holes, let's do these. The same thing, easy ease, and that'll help our keyframes feel like they're more organic. Let's see what that looks like. Awesome, so that actually came out pretty well. Cool, so now it looks like it goes right from one frame to the other. And here we have our second guy, and he's gonna push the camera down. So same thing, reverse engineer. So we're basically gonna come here, we're gonna copy paste that same effect on there. And now again, it's looking the wrong way. So we'll reverse engineer, and we'll figure out where do we need to land. Let's figure that out first. So where are we? Okay, so we want to land around here. Actually, you know what? Let's clip select it. This it. Okay, again, we're gonna paste it. Thank you. Quick production. This is great. Okay, so we're reverse engineering here. We're gonna try to find where that hit happens. Okay, so we want to land right about here, so our subject is right in the middle, and again, you can take this little side piece and rotate a little bit. And, oh, you're the best, thank you. Again, we're reverse engineering, so we know where our keyframes need to land. So let's have him hit there. And he looks like he's pushing it down, right? So we're gonna kind of meet that motion a little bit and have it come down here. And we're gonna start this one to follow that motion, so it's gonna start higher than it actually is gonna land. So we'll start that up here. And let's see what that looks like. All right, it needs to go faster. See? Cool, and again, we just need to add that sort of kinetic bounce and the motion blur. So we'll land here, meaning let's overshoot it a little bit, and then let's come back up a little bit, and then we'll land right in the middle. And we will easy ease. Let's see what it's looking like.
Wow.
Awesome. All right, I am going to skip the next transition because I want to get into the next piece. But here is, again, the final. Now let you know how we made it. So this, obviously, we took a little bit more time on just getting those movements right. And you can also reframe as we go. There you go, and they push different directions to make this feel really cool and kinetic. And there you go. Okay. So if you want to ask me any questions about what I just did, or anything 360, or anything like that, just feel free. Sure, yeah. Sure, yeah.
Well, guys, give it a hand for Cash Bunny.
Thank
I'm
you.
filling in for Michael for reflecting. But that was amazing because her process has always like eluded a lot of people. I think it's like so complicated that people think it's otherworldly, and so to see it broken down in 30 minutes no less is pretty impressive. I hope you guys all took something away from that.
Thank you.
So I want to start by just asking you a couple questions.
Sure, yeah.
What even got you into the sort of juncture of 360 and visual effects?
I mean, I think a big part of why it was so attractive was just that, like, I have never been I've never been a great filmer technically, so if I want to get really cool, unique shots, I can't, like, I'm not always the person to do that with like a DSLR, so a 360 camera is just so rewarding, like, every time, honestly, my biggest, like, regret whenever I shoot with 360 is not just rolling a camera bar, because everything looks cool. You can take something so mundane and make it look so cool and transformative just by, like, you know, waving the camera around. So, like, I think the return is really high, and I think it's still a relatively unexplored space. I mean, there's a lot of people doing cool things, but there's so much more that can be done that, like, I hope it kind of comes to, like, a little bit more, and people start using it in cool ways to, like, really utilize that capabilities.
I know when I first learned After Effects, I was really hesitating and like pushing against it because when you open up After Effects, it's insanely daunting.
Yes.
It looks like no other program,
Yes.
and it's totally different than any other workflow.
Yeah.
So like, how did you even begin?
Well, I reached out to a guy named Ari Farroy, shout out. He taught me everything I know as far as After Effects. I was doing just Premiere editing, and I love Premiere, I still do. But I was doing traditional editing and just trying to get as creative as I could with, like, standard cuts. And then I discovered After Effects, and yes, it was so daunting. I would open it for years and just be like, I don't know what I'm doing, and then just close it. So for me, I needed somebody to just sort of like answer those first few questions. Like, I came with a list of questions. I said, I don't know how to get past this. And he was able to just kind of go through them one by one. And from there, like, those were my roadblocks. And from there, I was able to, like, learn on my own. I knew what things were called. Like, even just translating from Premiere, like, I know Premiere so well, why can't I learn After Effects? It's because it's a different language. Like, a sequence is a comp, you know, or a nest is a pre-comp, like, things like that. It's simple and it's not hard to learn, but those things could be huge roadblocks that make you just, like, super intimidated. So shout out Ari for teaching me.
Yeah, and it also makes you less afraid of other editing platforms because once you get masks in After Effects, masks become a lot easier in Premiere and Resolve and the program. So like, it's definitely like a stepping stone on this backwards to more knowledge.
Right, and I feel like I was pushing Premiere to its limits of, like, I was doing crazy keyframing in Premiere, which is possible, but, like, it's not built for it. It's a lot harder. Like, the interface is just not. It's just harder to do. Like, even just layout wise, like, when you're dealing with a ton of keyframes, you need the screen space for it. So layers have to be kind of small. And so I was starting to edit in Premiere, and it started looking more and more like After Effects as I got more keyframes in Premiere, and I was like, I kind of get it now. Like, After Effects doesn't have to be this scary thing that I have to master. It's just like an easier way to do the things I'm already doing. So it felt like I was at that point that it was kind of a natural transition.
Okay, this is a personal question.
Yes.
What's the most layers you've ever had in an After Effects project, and has your computer ever caught on fire?
You know, it hasn't caught on fire, surprisingly. But I could get you an answer for that. My friend Jake wrote a script to actually count the layers, and like, I mean, thousands. Like,
I mean, if it's a
thousands.
script to count the layers, you can't count them yourself. That's probably the answer.
Yeah, exactly. A lot is the answer.
Okay, so one more question about your creative process.
Sure.
Say a brand or project comes your way. What's your thinking like from like conception of idea to the edit? Like, how important is the edit at the very beginning versus more the idea and you figure it out later?
I think it just so depends on the client, because like there are some that come with a really specific idea, or they'll say, hey, that video, we want that, and then I'll try to figure out a way to kind of spin it a little bit based on what they need. But there are other clients that come and just say, whatever you want to do, just do it. So I think the approach really depends on what is called for in that scenario. But I think like as I go, I think a lot of these were exploratory, and it was like, there's one in here that's like a TP. It was a circle of TPs that's like, I could never have planned for that. You know what I mean? Like, I just found a place that had 5 TPs perfectly around. Like, this is gonna look like a star in a tiny planet. It's gonna be so cool. And so that was just kind of luck of finding it. And I think a lot of these things were, but as I get into more like commercial work, a lot more of that is on the footing. So this is the store shot like that. That's crazy. Like that was just a thing. 5 perfectly spaced TPs. So that was just kind of in the right place and saw it. After shooting a lot with 360, you kind of like see in your head what things are going to look like. But before you start shooting a lot, it's a little bit hard to visualize sometimes. So it's good to just shoot everything, and you'll see, like, okay, when I'm closer to the camera, it's going to be a little too distorted, or I like that look, or things like that. You kind of get the nuance of it as you go.
Yeah, I think that's why it's been so complicated for a lot of people in this sphere to find like an assistant editor or someone to help. Because a lot of times you don't really know what you want until you get in there and play.
Right.
Like, I found things out in the edit that I would have never been able to communicate. Because I need to like tinker.
Yeah, and a lot of things don't sound good when you're pitching it. Like, hey, it's gonna be a person that goes like that, and then the thing is it doesn't always translate. So sometimes like it's helpful to have a video reference. That's why I do a lot of like test shoots and stuff, because like it's hard to wow a client with just words. So I also use 360 a lot just for like tests and things like that to find FX, which is helpful.
And yeah, speaking of client work, if you guys haven't seen Cash's Porsche spot that came out a few months ago, it is mind-blowing. It gave me a nosebleed just thinking about how they'll go about doing that. So definitely go to her Instagram, watch her Porsche contact, because it's like nothing I've ever seen.
Oh, thank you so much.
So I wanted to open it up to a few audience questions. If you guys have a question, just come on up to the stage and we'll talk into the mic.
It's all fair game. Don't be shy.
Any questions? Anything at all?
So, like you, I had problems getting into the right position for shading. I'm limited on where it can be and what I can do. So I have been interested in 360. My question is really simple. When you did the monkey shoot, what did you mount the camera that the monkeys were, like you weren't there holding the camera because they're utterly unpredictable. So what did you do, Deb? What was your thought process?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the invisible selfie stick that comes with the Insta, there's a longer version and a shorter version, and the great thing is that they are both so light. You can whip them around like crazy. Like you can put them a little bit long. So like I think the longer one is maybe 3 meters. So you can get up in a tree no problem just by kind of extending it out. And that's how I got those shots. I can't remember if that was the longer one. It might have been the shorter one, because even like 1 meter, like 3 feet-ish, is enough to get out there. So I didn't have to be like right next to Andy. I can have like a good buffer, but I can still get the camera close up, and I'm getting these 4 shots.
So you were holding the camera when?
Yeah, I was just holding it.
You didn't leave it there and then just kind of step away and let them
Right.
play with it?
Yeah, I was holding it. But there have been times where I just kind of station the camera and walk away, which is great too. But yeah, for things like that where you're trying to get a moving target, sometimes it's easier. Like I guess if you could put something that would attract it, maybe it would make sense to keep it there. Like squirrels or something might be too skittish, but the monkeys are very friendly, so I was able to just kind of place it out there. Yeah, fun. That.
So you use the 1x speed. So when you use it with the protective nets?
The protected lens?
Yeah.
No.
No, you got you.
Should I? No, I just use it as is. Yeah, yeah. I try not to whip it around too much, like in that scenario, but it's just so crystal clear, and I haven't ever had problems with it.
Well, because you need the protective lens without having simple works with the lights, different
Right.
our trainers.
Yeah, it's so much more clear. Like even if the lenses or the protectors are really clean, it just it's not gonna be as crazy as you want them. Yeah.
I've destroyed a lot of cameras, so just have to get better at not destroying them.
Yeah, or just you gotta also just be willing to take the L sometimes. If there's a really cool shot, sometimes you'll be like, alright, this camera might just go, but it's worth it.
Okay, I have one more personal question. If someone were to walk away from this talk
Yeah.
and wants to sort of emulate something you've done,
Yes.
either from what you showed us or on your Instagram, what's like? I firmly believe that copying someone's work or trying your best is a great way to learn the process, and then you make it your own.
Yeah.
So, which of your videos would be a great starting point for someone to just straight up try copying verbatim?
I think that something similar to the funky video is good because, I mean, that's kind of a unique use case, but it's a good way to get to know reframe and get comfortable with adding frames. But something even simpler is like this one here. So, I'm actually heard of this video about jokes on things. So this is just a camera and a tripod. It's in the middle of Will and Jada Smith at Coachella, and we just put it there and walked away, had them, do some actions into the camera. And it's like I said, it's normal footage, it's tripod footage. Even though it's got distortion, it's still tripod footage, and it works the same way as the other. So you can just have them in different places, and you can just roughly mask them out, which is so simple, and then you can add this nice fluid motion, or you could, super raw with reframe after the fact. So this is, I think, like a very simple but highly rewarding technique that is like great to service. So you yourself can station your camera like this, go to a few different spots around it, and then mask yourself into a frame and add that in and say like if there's a bunch of you causing emotions.
Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for coming.